You're watching SBA Today. With all the latest news, stories, and advice, here are your hosts, Paul Long and Tanya Mazurek.
Welcome to SBA Today for the week of January 28th. As always, I'm your host, Paul, and I'm joined here with my lovely co-host, Tanya. Tanya,
Thank you.
I don't think we have anything to talk about today. I feel like nothing's happening.
Oh my God. Right. So it's like originally we were going to talk about the fact that, there's been over 100 executive orders and what affects SBA, but I'm pretty sure, isn't there like 300 or so?
There's now over 300 executive orders. And if you think none of that affects you, you're funny.
And the crazy thing is, and we had this from last week to this week. So there's a lot happening and there's a lot that's going to be affecting us here in the SBA as well. So multiple things we're going to talk about today. We'll just get started, I guess. Paul, do you want to talk a little bit about
I want to start off with the first because this is fresh off the press within the last few hours. I've personally seen, and I'm sure most of you too, if not, please get your head out of a rock. But on the news, it says White House Budget Office suspends federal financial aid programs. If your heart didn't stop for just a moment, you're not in SBA lending. Now, again, like most news sources, you got to read the article. If you just trust the title, you're just going to freak out. SBA is not a part of that. I've read multiple sources on this, including from the White House. So you all can chill a little bit because that would be a real big problem. So that's our top news this morning is don't worry about it. So
right. And then, so also, if you were planning on going on and seeing the 7A Connect quarterly call later today, that has been put on hold, postponed until we get new administration in. So that is the next little piece of advice or piece of information to share out there. So,
and I'm sure that they'll have nothing new to talk about.
Oh my! Can you even imagine what they're doing, considering what we're doing?
They're breathing in a paper bag.
Oh my God! Yes. So you want to take the next one as far as the I'm a big nerd and I even follow the Federal Register. And if you ever want to put yourself to sleep, feel free to do that. But one of the things I think is interesting is SBA requested approval from the Office of Management and Budget on understanding the information on the business size standard. They're wanting to find out whether the collection of this information is necessary for the agency to properly perform its functions. Interesting. Whether the burden estimates are accurate. Okay. Whether there are ways to minimize the burden, including the use of automated techniques or other forms of information technology, and whether there are ways to enhance the quality of the information. So again, this is just, they're looking at this, and that's all what we need to know is they're looking at size standards. And I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. You're right.
But they're looking at it.
It could go either way these days. It's like, who knows? Either direction it could go. And okay, before we get into the next one, yes, I have a little bit of a ditty because you guys know how I am, right? And I'm going to bring this up early. So I'm going to pull this over here so I can see it. And just kind of bear with me. Laugh along as you please. So anyway, ready? Here we go. Ready? All right. Trump fired at least 12 inspectors general in a late night surprise that took a toll. Hannibal Mike Ware, Inspector General of the SBA, sent a letter to the president by the end of the day. He said, hold on, you need authority here. We were appointed to have this be our career. You don't have approval with the circumvent. We were Senate confirmed, Mr. President. Joni Ernst has a list of how she'd implement the downsizing of the agency and cut mismanagement. She's ready to take control, give her a desk and a nameplate. Then SBA Connect could give us their update. Next on the agenda, the DEI were hung out to dry, pushed out on leave immediately and didn't even know why. They were told to leave and given pay to be a fly on the wall and hear what they have to say. There wasn't a consensus, though, from the comments that I read on if the public thinks the department delivered on what it said. So now we wait to see what happens in the saga going down. I'm sure there will be a way
there will be way more to tell with the new sheriff in town. So if you followed all of that, then you are quite the rock star. Keep watching SBA Today, as we'll make sure to raise the bar. Anyway,
wow. Dang. Wow, that's amazing. That's awesome. Way to go, Tanya.
Brings all of it in what we're going to talk about. So
that's
speaking
right.
of that.
Yeah, let's dwell on this.
I know. Let's dwell on this. So Trump fires at least 12. At least 12 that we know of, right?
All of them.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Okay. Yeah. Inspectors general in a late night purge. There's now 74 inspectors general throughout the executive branch, although only 36 of them were Senate confirmed, but now they're all gone.
Yep. And I think we have a quick little video. MSNBC actually interviewed Mike Ware.
Joining us now is Hannibal Mike Ware. He is the fired Inspector General of the Small Business Administration, and this is his first interview since he was fired. Mike, we appreciate you joining us. I know you were appointed during Trump's first term, unanimously confirmed by the Senate. So how did you learn of your firing, and what did the White House say to you?
Well, first off, thank you for having me. I learned about this on Friday evening about 7:40. My wife and I were out with a group of friends having dinner. My phone started blowing up from a bunch of other IGs because I am the chairman of the Council of Inspectors General for Integrity and Efficiency. So I went outside to take the call, and one of them notified me that they had received an email notifying them that they were fired immediately. And so I said, oh, that's a shame. I said, well, let me check my email, and noticed that I was on there as well. And then, of course, the calls started to pour in. We have a $26 return on investment on every dollar spent on IG offices. In my office at SBA alone, over the past 5 years, we have a return on investment of over $50 per every dollar spent on us. So what is being stripped away is an independent way to provide the type of protections and the type of transparency that every American citizen decides.
I've had a chance to actually speak with Mike in the past, not like recently. Very nice guy, very dedicated for what he does. So yeah, I thought that was a very interesting quote that I wanted him to share on there. Right. I mean, for every dollar they spend, they get $50 back. I mean, that's pretty good because let's be real, they probably spend a lot of money.
Well, and you know what I think a lot of people don't know is what this position actually was created for. It was created, back in 1978 as part of the post-Watergate, y'all, scandal, right? In order to, I guess, put in independent watchdogs, right? So that they can look at federal agencies and departments, and
I think
have a check and balance too.
Right. And part of that check and balance is they have to give Congress 30 days notice and detailed reasons before removing them. Well,
or do they?
I mean, I encourage you all to look at MSNBC and watch the entire interview. It's about 5-7 minutes long. Yeah. But he does kind of go into there that, you can't pick and choose things that you like or want within that. That is one of the rules. And so they also talked about, too, there was one inspector general that actually said, well, I'm showing up on Monday regardless. Well, he didn't get very far because they terminated his access and he couldn't. So it's going to be really interesting to see this. I'm pretty sure it's going to go to court. I'm not pretty sure. It will go to court because of that.
Definitely.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but we definitely need, inspector generals or Inspector Gadget, as Ray calls them, in order to make sure that we are actually, doing those things correctly. So, Mike, I wish you the best, and I sure hope that, to be honest, you come back. So we'll see how that works. So it's changing world out out there. Dear God, it's a changing world. So, Tanya, let's talk about DEI. Everyone's favorite topic.
DEIA, whichever way you want to go. Right. So it's gone. Right. I mean, it's gone. He took it away. Just like I said, it's they must take down their website now. DEI must take down their website and social media accounts. They are all on leave with pay currently, but they are sent on leave. How long do they have? I know you went to try to find out. So did I? I couldn't figure it out.
Nope, nothing. I was definitely wanted to know that because I mean, okay, paid indefinitely. Well, shoot, can I get a job at DEI? Like that'd be great. Sign me up. But it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Right. Well, and I went online, Paul, and this is the one that there's a lot of back and forth out there with people, and there's a lot of comments that some don't really know that it was doing the job it was meant to do when it was put in place to begin with. Yeah. Others, think it was, and that it's taking away. And I'm not going to have any kind of an opinion on it. I know better, but it was crazy that the amount of two sides really to that.
Yeah,
did you see that as well?
I did. I always enjoy looking at the comments of everything when there's a really big story, because you get people who, and I'll just say it, some are very educated and have good answers back, and some are just kind of take it and run with it. And so you just kind of sit back and okay, interesting.
I have fun with those though, because then you see the people attack them for the fact that they obviously didn't do their research. I'm like, oh boy, I'm not saying a word.
That's right. Hey, if you can back it with facts, hey man, I'm all about it. All about it.
Absolutely.
So another thing, it's also a part of the mini executive order, is there is a hiring freeze going on with federal employees. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. I wonder, just like with any other institution who's ever done a hiring freeze, if you've been in this industry long enough, your institution probably has done that too. There's always like key positions that they're hiring for, et cetera. I went to the government website where you can see all the government jobs, et cetera. And I looked under SBA, and there's one position open. And I'm like, okay, they're pretty serious about this, because you got to think about how many jobs are a part of SBA to only have one. So that will be very interesting to see how that works on there as well. So.
Yes, it will.
Yeah. And so,
Joni, go ahead. Let's talk about Joni.
Yeah. So according to the National Review, Joni Ernst has submitted a list of recommendations that she is sending to Trump, detailing how she can downsize the agency and end its mismanagement of certain loan programs. Well,
yeah, just give her a desk. Come on, just like my baby, man. Just give her a desk with a nameplate.
That's right. And I'm sure she's going to be spending a lot of time on EIDL and PPP fraud. I would assume that. But you never know, right?
Well, now we've talked about it a few times now. What kinds of fraud did you see? Just give me an example, because I know I've brought some out there before, because I know there's tons. Especially during PPP.
And it's not necessarily just like during PPP, there's fake businesses or people trying to get the money. I get all that. Okay. Yeah. Where I have really seen a ton of interesting uses, we'll call it, for EIDL funds. And I know everyone who's listening to this podcast has heard their own stories on using EIDL funds, from buying other businesses to taking advances from there and going on personal vacations to using the funds not for the purpose intended. Right. I every day when I'm talking to somebody, I'm building a new building. Well, how did you get all that? Oh, that was from EIDL funds. What? Like, I don't want to hear this. So, I mean, it's scary out there, and maybe that's what they're going to be going after, is something like that. Who knows?
And I saw a lot of that in PPP, and I know I've already talked about some of mine, but one of the things that I noticed is people, when they would reach out, didn't need the money, especially. Now, do you remember all those that are, single member LLC or a sole proprietor or a consultant or whatever? Oh my God. So many coming for their handout for that. What was it, like 20,300 or something along those lines? That was the max they could get. They didn't need it, right? But they're like, well, hey, if they're handing away free money, I'm going to take it. Frustrates the tar out of me, guys, because the design of the program was for those who needed it. It wasn't for just because they're getting it, I deserve it too. Right. So yeah, that was a frustration, I think, of mine that I saw. So,
but anyway. I mean, again, when you see 3.75 for 30 years and there's not that many strings attached to it, let's be real. But you and I would have, if we're business owners, we would have done the same darn thing. Like it's just
that for the idle, right? Yes, the PPP is what I was talking more so. I think the idle. I mean, they put it out there, and shoot, they're going to be holding on to those for a minute, as they should.
But, yeah. And so I wanted to read, just for fun, some of the comments that were on this one when I started. And by the way, this was LinkedIn. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, these are professionals saying on here. So when they're talking about the fraud, et cetera. So
yeah.
One, does a town of 9,000 need 7 Mexican restaurants? They got their start with a big assist from the SBA. I mean, I don't know. I love Mexican restaurants, but I'm not sure if 7 is appropriate.
I got to try a different one every night of the week.
That's true.
That's 2.
The enchilada sauce is different.
Exactly.
SBA doesn't give out grants and doesn't make loans. I believe there's a lot of mythology rather than fact. I don't think you know anything about the SBA, buddy.
Nope. Never.
This one, end it, don't mend it. Okay, well, I'd like to know more about you, ma'am or sir. And finally, SBA deserves an overhaul of its leadership, which is lacking in business acumen. This one, I was like, interesting. But then I really kind of thought, who, on our leadership, I mean, who has owned businesses? That would be an interesting fact. And I started kind of going down that rabbit hole, and I don't know. I don't know the facts, so I really can't say, but it would be very interesting to see if decisions are making by people who have ran small businesses.
Yeah, but at the same time, man, it's real easy to point fingers, people. I mean, it's real easy to point fingers at the job somebody else is doing. If I'm not in it, it's real hard for me to point a finger because I got 3 fingers pointing back at me. So
that's right.
I don't know. There's pros and cons to that.
But right, and we've always made good loans, right, Tanya?
Always.
Always.
None of mine. I mean,
none have failed.
My belly hurts right now because I literally have I adore them, and it's failing, and there's not a daggum thing anybody can do about it. We've done everything that we possibly can. It's just, unfortunately, I think COVID downhill for that because it was a restaurant. But what do you do?
Yeah. Last but not least, because we're running out of time on here, the confirmation hearing for Kelly Loeffler has been scheduled. Woohoo! I can't wait to watch CNN or wherever the hell it's posted. Yet I assure that I will be there to cover it. It is on Wednesday, and I will make sure to get some sound bites from that to see. I mean, no one's complaining if there's any issues. With her, it'll probably be unanimous like some of the other ones. But hey, it'll be interesting to see what happens. So
that it will.
That's right.
Well, guys, we had fun. Sort of. I mean, it is a lot of information, so hope you guys had fun. Anyway, don't forget that we're live on Tuesdays on LinkedIn and YouTube. So join us here and/or any of the streaming platforms where you get your podcasts. Join our family of podcasts as well, The Art of SBA Lending and the BDO Show. They've got all kinds of fun things coming down the line as well.
New season.
Yeah, new season. Yep. Smash, as Paul likes to say, the like button, the comment button. And if you've got anything that you'd like us to talk about, reach out to Paul or I on LinkedIn and, let us know. We'd love to talk about subjects that you guys want us to be talking about, right? And let's see here. What else? Don't know. Rise up. Keep selling. We'll see you next week.